Alright, chapter 2. Okay, what was the title of the last chapter without looking in your book?
Viewing the sin.
What is it? Observing?
The
Or? Title of the chapter. This chapter is the contents of the Gita summarized. Everything is given in a very succinct manner in this chapter. This is one of the largest chapter. The largest chapter is, the longest chapter is the chapter 18 with 78 verses. This is next. This is about 72 verses. Okay. So here in this chapter you see he will present his last doubt, reason to avoid fighting, and then he says he's totally confused and he surrenders to Krishna and he says, Krishna, I will be your disciple, you be my spiritual master, and you explain what I should be doing. So that's what we will find. And of course you'll see how Krishna defeats his questions that he or his reasons for not fighting one by one. Text 1. Sanjaya vacha tam tata kripaya vishtam ashru purna kulekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam vacha madhusudana. Translation: Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. So when Sanjaya is explaining, Dhritarashtra is happy now because he's thinking, oh, Arjuna is not going to fight. He's the one of the powerful guy, and if he's not going to fight, then my sons will be victorious. But then he doesn't know what's going to happen. So then now Krishna is going to talk to Arjuna, since Arjuna is bringing up his doubts to Krishna. So here you will see Prabhupada says, material compassion, lamentation, tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. What is the real self?
The spirit soul.
The real self is you are the spirit soul. If you identify with the body, then you see dualities. So therefore, Prabhupada is giving us an understanding. All this compassion based on the body is actually signs of ignorance. That means you don't know that you are a spirit soul. It's very hard for people to understand what the soul is. Basically, it is the consciousness. It is revealed through the consciousness. Consciousness that pervades the entire living being is the soul. That is the symptom of the soul. And then later on, I'll talk more about how you can, in some ways, understand you are the soul and not the body. And then also, Srila Prabhupada in the purport talks about how persons who normally lament unnecessarily are Shudras. If you are a learned person, like a Brahmana, then you won't be lamenting. So Prabhupada says, only people who have that kind of consciousness, they are always lamenting. So this is a definition of a Shudra. A Shudra always laments, oh, I don't have this, I need that, oh, my life is so miserable, I need this. So this is how they always, because they are always thinking about their bodily existence, material existence. Okay. So Prabhupada says in the purport, no one, like a couple of lines from the top, he says no one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. Meaning if somebody is dying, why you are lamenting for that person? Because he's going to give up that body anyway. For one who takes birth, death is certain. Oh, sure. You can't stop that. No one can stop that. You can stop the cycle of taking birth and death is then finished. Even though we are a spirit soul, immortal, we are trapped in the body, and because of our false ego, we identify with the body. We think I am this. So when you look in the mirror, you're thinking you are the body. But actually, it's the soul that is thinking this body, it's him. But actually, the soul has its own spiritual body. It's a very beautiful spiritual body that it's unaware because it's covered. A man fallen in ocean, Prabhupada says like a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know these and laments for the outward dress is called the Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya and this conduct was not expected from him because he is supposed to have learned all this. And therefore, this is not a correct behavior of Arjuna. So therefore, this whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken so that the lamentation of the ignorant man can be dispelled. And here, Arjuna addresses Krishna as Madhusudana. He's addressed as Madhusudana because killer of Madhu demon, and Arjuna is saying, please kill the demon of my misunderstanding. Previously also he said that in the earlier verses, in chapter 1 he called him Madhusudana. At that time he was sarcastic. Yeah? He said, you are a killer of a demon, now you want me to kill my teacher. And what is this? You can kill demons, I can understand, but you want me to kill my own grandfather and teacher? So that was a sarcasm. But here he's saying, okay, I have a lot of demons of misunderstanding. You please kill them. Alright, text 2. Anyway, this chapter Prabhupada says towards the end, he says, instructs us in self-realization. That means he teaches jnana, knowledge about the material body and the spirit soul. And this knowledge is given by the Supreme Lord himself, Krishna. Okay? And then the other thing is, one should work without attachment to one's activity. That's the other lesson that we will pick up in this chapter. He will not touch on bhakti so much, Krishna, not yet. But Srila Prabhupada wants us to know everything is centered around bhakti. So therefore in the purport, he emphasizes bhakti from the very beginning. Okay. So that because our tendency is to forget, right? It's like all of you are listening now, as soon as you walk out, you're like, it's until tomorrow. But the urgency should be there, So that's why I say before you sleep, read a little bit more, hear something about Krishna, and then you'll get the taste. Reading philosophy is sometimes very dry, but when you train your mind properly, then it will say, yes, I surely enjoy it, I truly enjoy it. So the soul should be telling the mind what to do, not the mind telling the soul. Text 2. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kutastva Kashmalam Idam Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Justum Asvargyam Akirti Karam Arjuna. Interesting how Krishna addresses. So here it is said Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Not just Bhagavan, but Shri Bhagavan. Because he is the Supreme Personality of God. The term Bhagavan can be applied to even demigods who hold high position, who are empowered. But Shri Bhagavan is only used for Krishna. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? It's like, when you train your son, right, to do something, and then they do something foolish, then you say, how did you do this foolish thing? So he's asking the same thing. You're trained so well, you come from a very good family, and you're now talking like a Shudra. You're supposed to be a Kshatriya. So it's kind of funny the way, and Krishna is like, really giving it to him. They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. That means he knows what life is meant for. And here he is talking all this foolishly. They lead not to the higher planets but to infamy. The reason he says higher planets is because Kshatriyas, when they fight, whether they win or lose, they will still go to, if they die, they go to heavenly planets. They win, they enjoy the kingdom like a heavenly planet. So he's asking like that. So therefore he calls him Anarya. Anarya means? Arya means Aryan. The term Aryan that you've heard a lot in your studies and so on. It means one who is cultured, one who knows the life itself, what value of life, the way of life, how to live. The goal of life. That's what an Aryan means. Of course, the term has been misused in the modern society. When the Britishers came to India, they were shocked to see that the culture was superior than their own. So they could not accept that. So then they started to figure out what this culture was, so they sent their scholars to study the Vedas, and then finally they got this guy, Max Muller, I think. So they sanctioned him to write that this culture is barbaric and things like that. And his research, he wrote to the king and all the other people that the way you bring it down is you got to get rid of their culture. So they couldn't do it. So they started their own schools, Christian colleges, and forced all the kids to go to that college. And you can see the results after so many years, what has happened to Vedic culture. So then this Max Muller and all made up the story that they couldn't be so highly cultured this way. Someone must have come and taught them. So they formulated that the Aryans came from outside of India and somewhere from Europe.
German.
And then they said no, they said from that region. So they came to Germany, and then they went to Greek and England, and then some of them came here. And they started this. That's the view of the Indologists. So, but as you can see, this was written 5,000 years ago. Aryan already existed. They didn't come in some special airplane or ship or whatever. So that's one concoction of Aryan. And of course the other personality who took the word Aryan was it's the famous World War II guy. Hitler adopted the word Aryan also, which means superior race. Swastika. So he adopted this one. Swastika means auspicious sun. So this guy twisted it in a different way. So it became inauspicious for him. And then you find now people are saying you can't use that sign. Huh? They say, oh, that's German. It's not German. It's because they used it doesn't belong to them. It represents auspiciousness. In fact, in India or in many Indian homes, they'll put it on the floor. It invokes auspiciousness. It brings about good vibrations and so on. Even you have tantra and all those things made. Okay. So yeah.
When we start to book puja also we do that, right?
Yeah.
It's to study for studies.
Yeah, that's right. So in both. So here also the Lord is addressed as Bhagavan. So if a living entity approaches Bhagavan, right, he becomes Bhagyavan. He gets all the opulences. He gets good fortune. Bhaga means he owns all the opulences. So when the living entity comes to Krishna, he gets invested with all this, becomes Bhagyavan, good fortune. So that's the other thing we can understand. So here Krishna is very unhappy with that. So he says, Kutastra, where? How this came about? How are you acting like a fool? So much affection that he is chastising. If somebody loves you, they will tell you off, right? Why are you doing this stupid thing? It's only people who have no relationship will just, let the guy, kill himself or what. Let him dig his own coal, right? He'll fall in and that's it. But no, here Krishna is like, he's a supreme Lord. He could just say, Arjuna, I've had enough of you and go. But no, he's so much love and affection. He said, where did you come up with this foolish thinking? Kashmalam, this contamination. Where is it coming from? Impurities, he says. He calls him anarya, uncultured. He says you're full of impurities. And he says, Clivium, you're impotent. You're supposed to be a Kshatriya. You should be virile and strong. You're acting like a eunuch. So, when you think about it, because remember, prior to the war, 1 year before, Arjuna became he was cursed. For 1 year he had to be a eunuch. So then Krishna is now asking him, you are a eunuch? So it's kind of funny. And then finally he says, Hridaya Durlabha, which is in the next verse. So one more thing in the Prabhupada also. Bhagavan means one with how many opulences? 6. Do you know all the 6 opulences?
Beautiful.
Okay, all beautiful. That means nobody can be more beautiful than the Lord. Then
Strong.
all strength, full strength. Nobody can exceed Krishna in strength.
Healthy.
Knowledge or intelligence, wealth or opulence, and then renunciation, right? Complete renunciation, and strength. You said strength. What did we miss?
Compassion.
Knowledge, beauty, strength, renunciation, intelligence, and wealth. Intelligence and wealth. Wealth is it. So we got 6 of it. Knowledge, beauty,
Fame.
fame.
Fame was missing.
Fame
Yeah,
is
fame was missing.
Fame was
Fame. Okay. Good. So he has it in full. We can have some of it. We can be famous for a little bit and that's it. Next time. But Krishna is always famous. Even if the earthly planet we don't recognize Krishna, he's known in all the other planets. So he's always full of opulence. No one can be more wealthier than Krishna. all these opulences are very attractive, right? People like to see someone very beautiful, people like to be with someone very strong. Most people like if you have a lot of money, or if you have knowledge, yeah, or if you're like all the movie stars, famous like that. Yeah. So all these qualities, if it's even in a minute portion in a living entity, you can become so famous and attractive. All these 6 opulences that Krishna displays is very attractive. That's another meaning of Krishna. He is all attractive. And of course, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Sarva Karanam Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. He is the source of everything also. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that He is the source of every other incarnation. Ete Chamsakala Krishna. Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Alright. So then in the purport also, Srila Prabhupada talks about, he quotes a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvavyakyanam advayam brahmeti paramadmeti bhagavaniti sattva. This is a very important verse. If you can memorize it, it's good to explain to people. Because it allows you to tell people that the Lord can be realized in 3 different ways. One as in Brahman. Brahman means his effulgence. It's everywhere in the universe. Okay? And the other one is Paramatma. He is localized in every atom, inside the atom, outside the atom, in your hearts. Within the soul. So he is existing everywhere as a localized personality. And he exists as Bhagavan in his Krishna form or in Krishna Loka. These are 3 ways the Lord exists. And the example that is given to understand is the example of the sun. So you can see, namely the sunshine, it refers to the Brahman, the sun surface as Paramatma, and the sun planet as Bhagavan itself. So this is one way of understanding the Lord in different aspects. That's just an analogy given for us to comprehend it better. Like one who studies the sunshine only is a preliminary student. That means he really doesn't know who the person behind the sunshine is. Okay? So he understands there's God, but he doesn't know who God is. So there are a lot of people who say God is everywhere. Okay? Then a little bit more intelligent, they've done more studies, they'll say God is in my heart. But the one who really knows God, he'll say this is God. He is in the temple, there, standing there with the flute. So this is the levels of understanding. So you'll meet people, oh, God is everywhere, He knows everything. But that's impersonal actually. They don't really have a relationship. So full understanding of God is you have a relationship. And that's what we are trying to teach here in all ISKCON temples. How to develop your relationship. Not how to become good in this or that or management or this or that. No. How to develop love for the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada says, ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding a sunshine, its universal pervasiveness and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the Absolute Truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to the knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the Absolute Truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Okay? So those who come and want to know about Krishna is at the Bhagavan stage, trying to realize Bhagavan. Text 3. Klaibimmasmagamabharta Naitattvai upapadet upapadyate Shudram hridaya dorbalyam Tyaktva parantapa. O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of enemy. So he's encouraging him not to be weak-minded. So here again, he uses more terms like Dorbalyam, Hridaya Durlabyam, weakness of heart. Generally you find yourself also, you can relate to this, that sometimes you know you shouldn't be doing something wrong, but you do it anyway. That is weakness of your heart. But if you have the right degree of training, you can use your knowledge and intelligence to stop from doing the nonsense. That's why sadhana bhakti, the training we do, is to strengthen our intelligence with Krishna consciousness. That's called purifying your intelligence. And that's why I was saying yesterday, you need to chant nicely, to read properly, and you have to serve the devotees without offenses. And then you find you are very quickly, you can learn to love Krishna. Otherwise you will be like a mundane person trying to just do mundane things. So you don't want all that. Waste of time. Waste of your valuable time. We are here for a short time only, our lifespan. In the whole cosmic view, our life is nothing. We live for at most 100 years, if you can do it. And then, and Lord Brahma, you know how long he lives for? No. Even Lord Brahma has a fixed span. It's 311 trillion, 20 billion years. So it's almost... almost. But it's still finite.
And even Lord Brahma's one day is not really that one day like our calculation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He lives for even from Brahma's point of view, he only lives for 100 years. Time dilation works here. So our time, when Brahma looks at our plan is spinning like anything. So time goes faster here. For him, his time is more longer. So his life at 100 years, when he's 100 years old, according to our calculations, 311 trillion, 20 million years. So from our point of view, he lives forever. But from his point of view, man, I only 100 years. It's like you can compare with an ant to yourself. So the ant will only live for a couple of weeks the most. That is his 100 years. So the ant looks at us and says, oh, those beings, they live for millions of years. Like that.
Yeah. How about Shiva and Ganesha also? So they have a lifespan?
Yeah, they all have a lifespan. All that, see, all of them are demigods. They are not supreme lords. Only the supreme lord. So the demigods have a fixed lifespan. Depends on the kalpa. So according to each kalpa, Lord Shiva is a separate category, so he is not involved. But all the other demigods, they give up the position and a new set of demigods take over. And you can become Indra, you can become Chandra and so on. Those are position only.
Okay,
Yes.
not a person.
Yes. Those are all position only. Even Brahma is a position.
And Shiva is not.
Shiva is also a position, category, but he is on a special category. He is in between Jiva Tattva and Supreme Lord. Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva, he is on the middle. So he can exist on both sides. But he is not God. He is Mahadev, but he is not God. So he is a special category. It's called Shiva Tattva. Okay. That's okay, you learn, so then you know why it's important to know and apply this in your life. Don't be ignorant, that's the bottom line. So then here also Krishna calls him Prita, oh son of Prita. Prita is Kunti. So he sometimes called him Partha, son of Kunti. So indirectly he's saying you belong to a Kshatriya family, a glorious Kshatriya family who should know your duties, not act like a fool. And Partha means he is also related to Krishna also. Or yes, aunties. Text 4. Arjuna Vacha Katam Vishmam Aham Sankhe Dronam Cha Madhusudana Shubhi Pratiyotsyami Pujarha Harisudana. Translation. Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? So he's feeling so much pain now. So, and he has so much love and affection for Bhishma, his grandfather, and Dronacharya, his teacher. And he's right, they are worshipable. Someone who is superior to you, they are worshipable. One should always respect one's superior. Even if they say all kinds of things, you should still respect. If you don't, then your lifespan is reduced. So therefore, one should be very respectful for senior people. Even if they are talking and driving you up the wall, you just tolerate and say, I'm sorry. And sometimes your parents go on and on, you're like, shut up! And then if they feel hurt, then your lifespan is because they gave you the life, you understand? They brought you here, they raised you. So there's so many intertwining things that you don't understand in this cosmic. So superiors are always meant to be respected. So that's one of the lesson or points you should understand. Even if they attack, you shouldn't fight them openly. Because they are always worshipable, one should say. Of course, if they are going to kill you or something, then that's a different matter altogether. But in essence, you should understand superiors are meant to be respected. So, Prabhupada says in the purport, even if they shout at you, you shouldn't offer a verbal fight. So, that's the etiquette. But we forget all this, or we are not trained by our parents in some of this etiquette because they themselves weren't trained by their parents, so you don't know. But I don't know about many of you, but when I grew up, we can't even argue with our older siblings.
Yeah.
Always must respect. But they are, no argument. But they said, no argument. So it was like that. So then later on you understand the value of keeping your mouth shut. So here, in one sense, after Krishna chastised him, Arjuna is like a young kid. He wants to tell Krishna, how can he say this? He's like arguing with Krishna. So you see, he's like challenging Krishna. So he's saying, you want me to attack my own grandfather and my teacher? Will you attack your grandfather, Ugrasena king, and your teacher Santipani Muni? So he's countering like that. You can see how they are. So then you will see what he says. He's text 5. Gurun hahadvahi mahanubhavan Shreyo bhaktum bhakshyam api haloke Atvartakamam su gurun hi aiva Unjiya bhoga rudira pradiktan You can use that meter. It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. So he doesn't want to kill these great souls. He says he rather beg.
He's repeating the same thing.
Yeah, you will find he says, because he's so confused, he says a few things. So he says, I rather beg, I don't want to fight them anymore. So he thinks he is correct and that Krishna doesn't understand. It's like we all say, right? Krishna don't know. God doesn't understand my situation. Same thing he's saying. So there's some codes, etiquette here. Dharma Shastra versus Artha Shastra. Artha Shastra means rules of polity and sociology. Okay. It recommends killing aggressors, like Duryodhana and all. But Arjuna is giving more weight to Dharma Shastra, religious principles, which promotes forgiveness. So because he's learned, he's playing with all this. Sometimes too much intelligence was not good. No? But it's not that it's not good. You must know how to apply it in timeless circumstances. And you will find among yourselves, now that you are learning, you will use it to push your own point sometimes. Quoting out of context or something. But don't do that. You should do it for the benefit of Krishna consciousness. That means, does it help someone's Krishna consciousness? Or does it help the whole society as well? Don't put yourself as a person who's going to save the Phoenix temple, for example. I'm the one. I'm the one who knows everything. So one shouldn't take that kind of position. You should think, like I said the other day, for example, let's say one devotee has a suggestion to do something, and then another devotee has another suggestion, and a third, so there will be 3 different views, right? How do you follow which view, right? So in a meeting, the person who is the most senior may say, this is the way I want it done. Now the person who's suggesting that may not have the full picture, but the others must say, okay, you are the authority here, you do it. Even though your method may only accomplish 60%, whereas my method will accomplish 100%. But that is not what, as I said before, Krishna is not looking for. He's looking for how well you work together. So he's happy with 60% success. So that's what you have to learn. In what you're learning is humility also. Okay, I will support you even if it's 60%. Why? Because you see historically also, when Ravana was doing the nonsense, right, he kidnapped Sita. And then in his council, all the evil-minded Rakshasas said, it's okay, except for 1 or 2 persons, or Vibhishana and another person, said, don't do, this is not good for you. And then when the fight came, he was losing, he woke up his brother Kumbhakarna. And then when Kumbhakarna woke up, he said, "Why are you holding Sita? Release her. You know, I'm advising you, release her, otherwise you will die." And Ravana got angry with his brother. He said, I want you to support me, now you are also like them, you are saying the nasty things. Then Kumbhakarna said, "I've already told you what to do, but you are king, I will follow whatever you do." So you can see, even though he knew he was wrong, he said, "I will work with you." So the same way you work with the authorities. It doesn't matter, you know, like I said, if you don't get 100% result, it doesn't matter, 60% is fine. Because ultimately you have to please Krishna, not your ego. So this is a tough one for a lot of us to swallow. But that is where we fail or we succeed in spiritual life. It is said spiritual life is a razor's edge. If you're not careful, you nick yourself, you cut. So therefore, these principles here that you read at the purports, use it nicely for your own benefit. Progress, chant, and get out of this material world. This place is called Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. So anything you do, there will be some problem. Even you can do the most wonderful thing, someone will say there's a problem. So you have to recognize that. So therefore, if you don't fight that and say, okay, I did my best and I'm happy. That's it. Let Krishna decide how it should be done. That's all. So you become not attached to it. That's what we are coming to. Krishna is going to tell Arjuna. Even though Bhishma and Drona have, due to their action, lost the respectability, still Arjuna feels he should respect them. So that's why he is countering with all these arguments. Okay, then there are some things that you can understand. There's the scriptural quotes which recommend that you can kill such teachers and relatives. A teacher is fit to be abandoned if he engages in abominable acts. If you have a guru and the guru is doing all kinds of nonsense, then you can say, "Thank you for whatever help you have given me, but now I'll go and seek another guru." In a nice way, not like boom. So most people do nowadays, that's too emotional. So, okay. Or they have lost a sense of proper discrimination. They don't know what is right or wrong. Then they can be abandoned. Because both Bhishma and Drona can be abandoned because they are taking the side of Duryodhana for financial reasons. It says very clearly, financial reasons. But having said all that, Arjuna is telling Krishna, yeah, I know they are all this, but still I want to forgive them. So that's why Krishna doesn't like his attitude at all. Text 6. Nachayata vidma kataranno gariyo Nachayata vidma kataranno gariyo Yadva jayema yadivano jayayu Yadva jayema yadivano jayayu Yaneva hadvana jijivishamas Yaneva hadvana jijivishamas Devastita pramuke dattarastra Devastita pramuke dattarastra. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. So now he doesn't know what to do. This is his indecision. This is another reason why he doesn't want to fight. He's telling Krishna, I don't know what to do. So He's asking Krishna to actually guide him. So in the next verse, text 7, Karpanya dosho bhata svabhavaha Prichami tvam dharma samudgacetaha Yat shreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme Shishyaste hamshadimam tvam prapannam Now I am confused about my duty. So finally he admits. And I have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. It means his heart. In this condition I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct. So finally he admits he is not in the position to make any kind of statement. He says, I don't know what I'm doing. You tell me what to do. So he's a great devotee of Lord. He's also very enlightened. We know he can control his mind and senses. But still, he says he wants to go and beg for the rest of his life to live. So it shows he can be detached also. But he has very strong faith in Krishna. So he's saying, okay, you instruct me. So the same way, we should understand, for us, in our material lifestyle, there's so many perplexities. So many things that bewilder us. Common man suffers so much. He doesn't know what to do. He asks his friend, they'll give 10 different answers. 10 different friends will give 10 different reasons. But the Vedic culture is set up in such a way that we approach the spiritual authorities and they will all give you similar answers. Slightly modified for the situation, but will be similar answers. So one who's trained in this Vedic culture properly, he should be able to give whoever is inquiring from them the right reasons, the right answers that can help them progress in their life. So you can see that he therefore is asking Krishna to help him. So these qualities of Arjuna therefore shows that he is fit for liberation, as we said earlier. It's very fit for. Generally, if you want to be able to understand scriptures, you must be able to control your senses. That's why we say 4 regulating principles. So you should be able to control senses, and then you must be able to have enough knowledge about why you're doing it, how to do it. And then finally, you must also have devotion. So if you have these 3, then you can practice it perfectly. But the problem is, even though we may have the qualities, we cannot sustain that due to the fact that we associate with different people in our day-to-day lifestyle, right? You're not always at home, sheltered, but you go outside, you meet people, they talk some kind of nonsense, you hear, it gets stuck in your mind. Or you go to a mall and there's a music playing and it gets stuck in your head, right? It's like, get out, no, still be there, get out, no. So things like that. So the influence is so strong out there that it can affect your consciousness. So practice nicely, and then we will find that eventually you control the senses, not the senses control you. And then you are ready to go to the next level of advancement in your spiritual life. Okay, so then, so what we have seen so far is Arjuna chastises him, calls him non-Aryan, non-Aryan, calls him weak-hearted, calls him impotent, and then here Arjuna expresses his need to surrender. Why is he saying that? Because he is confused about his duty. That's right. Confused about his duty. So similarly for us, if we are confused about what to do, we should approach you can approach Krishna?
Devotees.
Okay, yes. You approach a spiritual authority that you feel can help you. Sometimes you never know, even the person you think who cannot help you will have the right answer for you. And you think, my God, this guy has more better knowledge than I do. But it's like that. Yeah. Otherwise you will be weak, as Krishna, Arjuna says here. Karpanya, miserly dosha. Karpanya dosha, miserly weakness. So one will become very weak, and then you don't know what to do, lose all composure. Then text. So you need to have a spiritual authority. That's the main point here. That means if you don't know how to live a life in this material world properly, based on scriptures and so on, you need someone to guide you. So that the emphasis in the purport, and I want you all to read that also. And so you approach someone who can guide you. So basically, you need a spiritual master. So you all should, each of you should have a timetable where you know when you're going to take initiation. Because you must do that. That will complete your progress towards Krishna. If you don't surrender to a guru, then you have no ability to approach Krishna. Very difficult on your own. But that's the way Krishna set up the system. So we have to follow Krishna's system, not our own, why I have to surrender, why I need a guru. If you don't have a guru, who's your guru? Who will become your guru? Your mind will become the guru. If you have a guru, then you have to force to listen to your guru. Otherwise you will make up something, oh, I read this here, I read that, okay, I'm okay. You okay? I'm okay. Like that. Therefore you need a guru. Then you are forced to surrender also. Then you learn what surrender is. Then you learn that it's actually a loving exchange. You humbly want to serve your guru. And then when Krishna sees that loving exchange, then he reveals to that disciple. Otherwise you can't approach Krishna. Not possible. Impossible. You can't approach. Krishna says, he who calls, says that he's my disciple, he's my devotee, is not my devotee. But he who serves my devotee is my devotee. So that's why we always emphasize service, take shelter of senior devotees, take initiation and so on. So that comes to another point that we all should be chanting. So chant nicely, improve on your chanting over the years or months, and then you find Krishna playing a vital role in your life. And you want that. Text 8. Na hi prapasyami mama panudya yachokam uchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhuma asapatnam riddham Rajyam suranam apichadipatyam I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like that of the demigods in heaven. Yeah, so much, many arguments he is giving, right? But he still don't know what to do. So the same way for us, we can give so many reasons for why I'm in this situation, why I'm that. But if you don't have a spiritual master to guide you, you will always make the wrong choices or decisions in life. So spiritual life is different, because if you know how to really perform your spiritual life properly, it will give the solutions for your material life. Okay? Material life is a subset of spiritual life. It's just because we are stuck in this. We are by nature spirit. Okay? So because we are spirit, we should be doing spiritual activities more than material activities. So if we perform spiritual activities properly, automatically the answers to perform material activities is given. Actually, the manual for existing in the material world is already there. They are the Shastra. Just like when you buy a computer or a TV, there's a manual to say how to operate, right? So how to operate this human body is given by the Shastra. It is meant only for service to the Lord, not for anything else. Right? You understand that this is actually a machine, yantra, this one. You are the soul inside driving. So the soul is actually desiring, I want this, I want that. But he is actually, in like a cocoon, thinking his desires. And the super soul is sanctioning through the material nature, and everything is acting. So in essence, we are not the doer, but we are doer in the sense that we desire it. Okay. So therefore, in the third chapter, you will find the Prakriti Kriyamani Gunai Karma Sarvasara. That verse comes to that the Prakriti is the one who's doing. So yeah, we can put forward so many. You can read the whole Bhagavad and start saying all these that arguments, to show that you know something and therefore you are right. But actually, it's the Guru will say, just shut up and do what I'm telling you. And then you will make advancement. It's true, sometimes, right? Someone can talk so much, but the person may not be making any progress in life. The Guru will immediately say, this guy is wasting his time. Okay, keep quiet, I'll tell you what to do. Then you'll say, oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're too busy thinking. Stop thinking for a change. Listen. So these are important things. Huh? Prabhupada says academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc. are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna or in the disciplic succession. And therefore we have to see clearly, yes, I need help. I need help so that I can solve the problems of life. So if you read it properly under the proper direction of authorities and devotees, then you can become a guru also when you become more qualified. So all of you can become gurus here. There's no restriction for any of you. But you have to become qualified. That's why I say chant and take initiation. And then you can go on the altar, do seva. How many of you want to go and do service on the altar? Would love to. Why, you don't want to do it? You like to do, right? Yeah. See, I see quite a few people. Do you like to do it? Yeah, good. So then chant your 16 rounds. And then, tell the authorities, hey, I'm ready to get initiated. So I can do my service to my Lord. So you should have goals like that, spiritual goals. I want to achieve in 2 years, in 3 years, in 4, 5 years. By the time I'm 60, 70, I want to be able to know the whole books, the Bhagavatam, things like that. Those goals must be there. You must make goals. Goals means you make sub-goals so you can achieve your goals. So that you need guidance. So don't worry about so many other things. There's so many things you can do in your life and waste it. But the opportunity you have, right, to serve the Supreme Lord here is only once in your lifetime. So don't waste that. This opportunity, somehow, something you did in your last life, you all are here now. The opportunity to serve Krishna is now given to you. So don't waste it. Otherwise, you are no different from the way Arjuna is acting. Karpana dosha. Miserly weakness. We don't want that. Right? Think about this. And you go home and sleep there. And basically, he says that very straightforward. He's not. Most of the time when we face some situations, we are not honest enough to say, I can't do it. But here, the first thing he tells Krishna again, he says, I can find no means to drive away this grief I am going through. So he's declaring that he is in a difficult situation. For us, when we are in a difficult situation, we don't want to say we are difficult because we are thinking, oh, if that person knows I'm difficult, then he will have the upper hand. Or she will have the upper hand. This is an ego situation. It's called false ego. We don't want to develop that quality. That's not a good quality. Then you tend to hide, tend to cultivate bad qualities like that. So we don't want. We have a problem. We say, look, I have a problem. How do I go about it? And then surely, when we all gather together, we can come up with a good solution. If not the best, we will come up with something. So that is the mood of a devotee. He is willing to get some help. Not thinking he can do it by himself. Not thinking he can independently solve the problems of material life. It's not easy to solve material life. Oftentimes we think you can solve material problems simply by material solutions, but actually that's not the case. As I mentioned earlier, this material world is like a subset of the spiritual world. So, to have solutions within this material world, you can solve it using spiritual understanding. Because if you know the context of how you came here, then you will understand why you shouldn't be dwelling here. So then you will use the right methodology to get out. Srila Prabhupada once said, this material world, you should see it like the toilet. So he says, a gentleman will use the toilet and he will finish and he will get out. Once he's done his business, he will get out. He's not going to stay there. So this material world is like a toilet. So why are we all sitting here waiting? So that's what Prabhupada used to say. So we should understand what he means. So and then the other point Arjuna is making is victory. And once he wins the kingdom is all this opulence cannot dispel the lamentation he's going to feel because of his affection for his family members. So he's putting this point to Krishna, and he wants Krishna to help him out. And some points in the purport that Srila Prabhupada brings is you can have academic knowledge, scholarship, even a great position in society, but they are all useless in solving this kind of perplexities in life, what to do, what is the goal of life. Or in particular in this situation, Arjuna's situation, how is your position as a CEO or as a professor in some university, how is that going to help you solve these things? Because there are so many things that's based on military codes, religious codes, principles, all this. When people are not educated in that level, then they cannot really help us. For some of them, when they read, most people when they read this Arjuna's perplexity, they say, yeah, he should just kill and then take the money and leave it. That's how they will understand it. But if you really truly know what Arjuna is going through, then how can you solve his problem? So that kind of understanding only comes from a spiritual understanding. To say, okay, if this doesn't work, then you can apply this. Even to tell someone, of course, ultimately Krishna wants Arjuna to fight and kill these enemies, but there's a reason behind why he should fight and kill. Whereas someone who has no understanding of religious codes and ethics and so on cannot give that understanding. They base it on sense enjoyment. Say, well, you get so much, so it's good enough. And so when we attempt to solve material problems like that, it only invariably leads to further perplexities. And so we have to be careful when we sometimes encounter in our own lives perplexities. We have to ask ourselves, is there a better solution to it? Which is common nowadays. People say, think about other solutions to the problems. Like they say, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? I mean, we don't skin a cat, but it's just a terminology. So there's more than one way to solve a problem. But there's actually, even those who are working like, if you know you can write the code in several ways to get a certain result, but there's an efficient way and an inefficient way. So similarly, the most efficient way is through proper understanding as in the religious principles, how you apply it for your material life. That's the purpose behind Srila Prabhupada's intent that we should take a spiritual master. So then the question comes out, how do we know who is a spiritual master?
Devotee of Krishna.
Okay, there's one way, is you know, it should be a devotee of Krishna, but what is the qualification there? Yeah, it's 100% Krishna consciousness. It's in the purport, if you have read it. And who can help you solve your problems of life? Because they put you in the right perspective. Then you will say, oh, okay, so I understand this is higher priority, this is not really a priority. So someone with proper spiritual knowledge can tell you that this is not a higher priority, so don't worry about it so much. If you don't know, then you will just prioritize according to how I feel good if I do this, that's how you will do it. So generally, if you want to know who is educated in this philosophy and so on, you listen to them. You hear, and when you hear, you know the person has proper understanding of it. That's one way. The other way is the person also comes in a disciplic succession. Guru Parampara. Remember we talked about 4 sampradayas. So they must be one of the 4 Vaishnava sampradayas. Spiritual masters must come in that lineage. And then they must be learned also in the scripture, and they always say the same thing, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality. They don't claim to be Krishna. Okay? Because we will find out later on how Krishna also explains that very nicely. So then there's this very nice verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kiva vipra kiva nyasi shudra kenana ye Krishna tattva sevulari. Says it does not matter whether a person is a vipra means learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is master in the science of Krishna, that means he knows what Krishna is all about, he is the perfect and bona fide spiritual master. It doesn't matter whether the person comes from a Shudra background or any background, but if they know the science of Krishna and they can give you that science, then they are qualified to guide you as a spiritual master. That's important. Because we have this tendency to pick and choose and say, oh, many times people think if the guru looks handsome, yeah, I want that guru. Or the guru can sing, oh, this one's nice, I want that guru. That's not how you pick a guru. Okay? Guru is, you hear, you know, okay, this guy makes sense, and he's giving the right answers. That's how you pick a guru. He's knowledgeable and he's in a proper discipline. not because you like the way he looks. Yeah.
Looks like Shudra, if he studies the Vedas, he can be good, even if it is Shudra.
Well, we are not saying he's studying the Vedas. He knows the science of Krishna consciousness.
Okay, so then he can be good.
Yes.
But we decided yesterday that the Shudra is not the birth. So how he got the name?
Exactly. So when the person can understand that science properly, then he is no more Shudra. But by birth, he may be born in that family. And generally people, how you all classify each other? You say you're born in this family, so you're Shudra, right? So that's what the statement is saying. It's saying that people make this kind of assumptions. That this person is
The
Shudra.
Vedas also say that everybody is born Shudra.
Yes.
But
By purification and Pancharatriki Viddhi, one gets elevated to the platform of Brahmana. So the statement, what it says is, he may be born in that family background, but by training in the process, he can be qualified to be a guru. You understand? Just like if you go to the university, you get trained in engineering or something, right? Then once you're qualified, then you are that position, engineer or lawyer or whatever. Like that. But before that, you are not qualified. Even though you come from, it doesn't mean you must be only an engineer if your father is an engineer. So that's what it means, that statement. So the problems of material existence is birth, death, old age and disease. How to solve this? Nobody wants to take birth and then go through the suffering. Nobody wants to die. Right? And then old age, nobody wants to grow old. Nobody wants disease. But these are the real problems in our life. It's always there. And unless we know who we are, we cannot solve this kind of problems. This is what Krishna is going to tackle with Arjuna and then help him out. Text 9. Sanjay Vacha Evam Muktva Rishikesham Budakesha Parantaka Mayaksya Iti Govindam Uktva Tushmin Vagupana. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. So the purport of Prabhupada says, Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna was not going to fight and was instead having the battle for the begging profession. Leaving the battle because he said he wanted to just beg. So when Dhritarashtra heard this, he was very happy. But then Srila Prabhupada explains that Sanjaya uses the word parantapa. Parantapa means he can actually kill the enemies. So by using the word parantapa, he is reminding Dhritarashtra, don't count on it. That's that he is competent enough to kill, but he is going through some difficulty at the moment. So basically, at this point, Arjuna as a disciple to Krishna is saying, I shall not fight. Okay. And then what we can understand is when we are in difficulty, we have to also approach a spiritual master and say, I have this difficulty. Of course, you don't go to a spiritual master and say, I have a headache, I have fever, I have flu, like that. That's not why you approach a spiritual master. You approach a spiritual master for spiritual viewpoints, understanding of a material problem that is perplexing you, seemingly difficult. Generally, before even you approach a spiritual master, you should talk to the devotees you know, associate, and discuss, is this something that we can solve? You can't bring every small task to the Guru and say, up to the point like you say, you in the class, you could ask, Guru Maharaj, I want to go to the bathroom now, can I have permission? So that's really ridiculous. So that's not what we are saying. It means situations that are very, very difficult, like Arjuna's situation, very perplexing what to do. Because he gave his views of what is right and wrong. So here, as I said, he uses the word paratapa to disappoint the Dasa. So he isn't chastised the enemy, so he's competent to kill the enemies. The only thing is, the reason he's speaking like that is temporarily overwhelmed by the grief. But he has surrendered to Krishna, and soon you will see Krishna will help him fight. So now, when you surrender, generally there's some positive things that can happen. In particular for Arjuna, three things will manifest. That he will be enlightened, he will understand, he will be free from false lamentation, unnecessarily lamenting for things that you don't have to lament. And then he will understand how to perform his duty. So the same with us also. When we surrender to the Guru, and then the Guru with his instructions, and when we follow faithfully the teachings of the Guru, we will also understand how to act in our capacities, within our lives. So those are very important things to understand. Text 10. Tamvacha Rishikesha Rahasami Vabharata Senayoruvayor Madhye Ishidantamidam Vachaha. O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. So now Krishna starts speaking again. And here it says Prahashan. Prahashan means Krishna is smiling. The reason he smiles is because just a few moments ago, Arjuna and he had a friendly relationship. Now all of a sudden Arjuna has taken the disciple, so therefore he is smiling. So the Lord is smiling. Because he had chosen to become a disciple. And that means he's taking a humble position. It's not easy to take a humble position. It's not easy to surrender to someone and say, okay, you guide me, my life. It's not so easy. Generally you think, I can guide myself, okay, no problem, just stay out of my life. But here, you're inviting someone to, you take care of my life. You tell me what I should do. So it's a very interesting thing that's happening here. So and the other nice thing is Krishna, who is a Lord of the devotees, he is also accepting the role. He said, okay, since you want me to be the Guru, I will be your Guru, or I can be your friend. So now, particularly here, Arjuna wants him to be a Guru. Regardless of whether Krishna is a friend or Guru, he is always the Supreme Lord. Okay? So now, the other point is, as Prabhupada makes is, this Bhagavad Gita is openly discussed between the two Amas. So therefore, it's not just for Arjuna, it is for everyone who can hear. Yeah, many people could hear that. But not everyone is understanding the same way. Right?
Krishna
Huh?
could hear what?
No, I think Krishna could hear that. There were others who could not understand or hear. But in general, many of them could hear. And when Krishna shows his Vishwarup, only some people could see, those who are qualified to see. So the point is whether they are friends of Krishna or enemies for Arjuna did not matter. Krishna wanted everyone to hear this important message. So now from text 11 to 30, Krishna will discuss about jnana, knowledge, particularly knowledge about the soul. It's the difference between the body and the soul. Okay? And the theme that Krishna is driving, he says, you should fight because there is no death for the soul. And the body can never be saved. It's going to go. So don't lament, just fight. So he refutes Arjuna's first argument based on compassion. Okay? So that's good. So let's go to the text. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Asochinam Vasocasvam Prajnavadam Shavasase Tathasam Nadatamsamscha Nanusochanti Pandita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. The way Krishna says is so potent. He already said everything in one or two sentences. When we talk, we talk for half an hour and nobody understands. So it's the beauty in the way you also, if you know the topic well, you can speak. So here, Krishna is chastising Arjuna. He says, you speak like a learned person, but then you don't even understand the basic principles. The basic principle is about the soul. You should know about the soul. And yet you are talking like a big man and you are ignoring that fact that the soul cannot be destroyed. So he is chastising Arjuna. So if you are wise, he says, you cannot make the mistake of the body to be the self. So how can you think Bhishma is his body, Drona is the body? You cannot do that. Therefore he says, if you are truly wise, never text 12. This starts now by discussing another soul. Natu evaham jatu nasam Natam neti janati prana Nachayana bhavishyamha Sarve vayam mataha param. Translation: never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. This is a definitive statement about our we are always eternally existing. We don't disappear. We don't go and merge and join in something. Our individuality is always going to exist. Okay? There's a lot of people who argue that our individuality is lost when we give up the body or when we merge in the Brahman. Krishna makes it very clear here. There is never a time that you don't exist or I don't exist. We always exist forever, eternally. The difference is we don't understand this concept, so we identify with the body and with the relation with the body. So we perpetually go in the cycle of birth and death. And therefore, we are always taking birth and dying, taking birth and dying. Until we realize that, once we know, oh, there's a way to stop it, which is through Krishna consciousness, then we stop this cycle of birth and death. And we go back to the spiritual, for eternal relationship with Krishna. That is actually the goal.
So, the number of cities increases later than is how the population is increasing.
The population, how is it increasing? Well, there's so many living entities, right? Some living entities come from lower platform, they're moving up to higher platforms or higher consciousness. And then those in human form who misuse will go down to lower platforms. It's not like only now there's so many people. No, there were so many people in the past. And then after that they all died, population went down due to disease, war and so on. And then now population is rising again because there's economic welfare and so on. People are able to have more kids and so on, like medical, all this helping them to live longer, so-called longer, but in a depressed state. Living entities is always existing. We only think in terms of human beings, so we are calculating so many human beings. But there's so many living entities, even in the air and so on. So they also go through the natural progression from lower life form to higher life form. So they are also taking birth. When their karma is finished, so when it's right to take a human birth, they take birth at this moment. So it's not like, oh, suddenly there's so many people. No. And this living entities are always coming into this material world also. Creation is eternally going on. Yeah. It's always going on. Because the Lord is ever expanding Himself. So this is kind of inconceivable because we don't have the intelligence to understand how this works. But that's how it is. Forever it's going on.
Mathematically, like if you calculate the number of souls, it will never die and never born. So how balance?
That's how I say, it's just like you take different body, you know, so you don't see some of them.
The overall population is the same, within the same.
There's so many different universes, you know. You're only looking at one universe here.
The soul transfer from level from one universe to other universe.
But as the soul comes from the Lord, they go to different universes to take birth and live their existence until they get liberated.
When you say universe, you're talking about different earths, different places.
When universe is this particular universe, one universe, so there are many universes.
Like there are many other suns.
Yeah, in each universe there is planetary systems like ours.
So the question we raise the ancestor lifetime so that they don't have to.
Yeah, if you become a pure devotee, your ancestors will get the benefit of going back to God also. Yeah.
So usually the Atman or the self understands its highest form of knowledge. So does it consciously not come back to the body? Has it got its own will so that it doesn't?
No, it doesn't work like that. When he understands his, for example, like when you understand now that you have to do bhakti and devotional service to Krishna, you develop a relationship with Krishna. Then when that relationship matures to the highest level, then you don't take birth anymore. That you call, some people say it's mukti and so forth. But the real mukti is when you go back to Vaikuntha or Goloka and do service there internally.
So it's not only like creating the guarantees or something.
No.
Really understanding the
Yeah, really doing service. Paying in candies is only getting rid of, it's like prayaschitta. I did something wrong, so I'm going to atone for it. Yeah. But then that's why that is not a good mentality. When you pay, that's good, but then you have to do service to to stop doing all this nonsense in your life. Most people go there because they feel I've done some wrong, so I bathe and then purify and continue doing nonsense. Oh Lord, forgive me, let me then sin again the next day. That means you don't understand the value of human life. It means you are like an animal, right? You can't train an animal. You can train a human being. So if you are a human being, then you should get yourself trained. It is said that those who follow the principles, religious principles, then they are considered human beings. Those humans who don't follow the religious principle, they are considered animals, actually, or lumped with the. Therefore, in the Varnashram system up to Shudra, those who don't follow the Varnashram system fall under the categories of Yavanas, Malacharas, and Chandalas, and so on and so forth. Like that. Means they are meat eaters, they don't understand all these concepts, the deities, and all those others, dog eaters. We understand now, so that it's important. Each of us should think deeply and then try to progress. You have an opportunity now, don't lose this opportunity. Okay, so so this particular verse is very good to know, because a lot of people who don't understand about individuality of a person eternally, they think we are not individuals, that we are part of something, so we merge and we lose our identity. So that concept is known as Mayavadi, Mayavad philosophy. So eternally we are individuals. So understand that. Even if somebody tells you, no, you just quote this verse. Krishna says that, are you Krishna? Or sometimes these people will say, yes, I am also Krishna. Yeah, there are many people have this. This is called Maya philosophy. They say, I am also Narayan. If you are Narayan, what are you doing here? Narayan means is superior to material energy. So why are you trapped into material energy? And then they will say, oh, because I am doing my pastime, Leela. They will talk all this nonsense. So then you can tell them, okay, then they will also say, I am you and you are me. Then you can tell them, if I am you and you are me, please give me your wallet. Because we are the same, yeah? You can talk, you should talk, because it's all based on foolishness, not based on real philosophy. So if you know some of these verses in chapter 2, like these particular verses and a few others, you can easily tell them that they have a misconception and guide them wrong. So their theory is the soul is separated from the original consciousness. Like if you make a dough and then you pull the dough for chapati dough, then each one they say is the individual consciousness. So then you take all the dough and join back, then it becomes one consciousness. That's their theory. But as you know, that is not true again. Because further on, Krishna will explain not only the soul is eternal and exists eternally, individually, you cannot cut the soul. You cannot moisten it. You cannot change its constitution. It's always fixed eternally. So therefore, no matter what people come up with what theory, they cannot refute Krishna. Because he knows better, because he created us. So the soul is unbreakable. So let's go through all the different definitions. The other, in the Prabhupada also, this is a very nice Katha Upanishad verse. Nityo Nityanam Chetana Chetanam Eko Bhavanam Yudadati Kaman. This means that out of many eternal beings, there's one eternal being who actually takes care of all the other eternal beings. He supplies everything, he gives them, and that person is Krishna. Every other person, eternal, depend on one eternal, this supreme eternal. So this is another Upanishad verse that if you know, you can also use it to educate people who are foolishly think they know or they think they are God. Okay, let's continue. You should read this, particularly this purport. It's very long. It would be nice if you can read that because it defeats many of these misconceptions that people have. Particularly in India, you find a lot of people talk like that. And I am God also. So if you are God, then why are you having headache, toothache and all that? So it's ridiculous, when you really break it down to the thing they talk about. Then they'll say you don't understand. That's their argument. You don't understand. You can tell them you actually don't know the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? And that's what Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is so good. Because it really opens up this foolish thinking people have. I remember when we were much younger, we were discussing this with one person. So then he was honored because we started saying, "Oh, Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita." And finally he stopped and said, "You know, you all are very well trained by ISKCON." That was his answer. And then he walked away. Instead of admitting that he doesn't know, he's saying you're trained by him. In a sense it's good because Prabhupada's teachings are very good. People cannot cheat you. And they also will say sometimes, they will say, we are material, we are not spiritual. But you can see here in this particular verse, Krishna says, I am individual. And he also says later on in the 4th chapter, I existed in the past, I exist now, and he also says in this verse also, I am going to exist in the future. So he's always existing. So therefore we can understand Krishna is not like an ordinary conditioned person. And he also says to Arjuna in the 4th chapter, I can remember everything because I do not take a material body. So therefore we can say that this individuality is spiritual. The only time the soul takes a material form is when it is covered by ignorance. No, he is Sachit Ananda Vigraha. He is present. You see, Krishna has one energy called Yoga Maya. And through that Yoga Maya, he can show his form or he can cover his form. That's why he is supreme. For us to show and cover, we have to run somewhere. But Krishna never do that. So he has this ability. He's always spiritual. When he takes avatar, it's spiritual. All the avatars are spiritual. None of them are material. Yes. So therefore later on Krishna says, Avajanati Mamuddha Manasam Dhanamashritam Parambham Ajanata Mamabhutta Maheshwara. So he says, fools deride me when I come in this human form. They do not know my transcendental nature. So let's see, just by reading the Bhagavad Gita, we understand his true nature. But if we don't understand this, then we have misinformation through our upbringing or lack of information, through ignorance. We come with all kinds of concoction. So now you can appreciate why it's good to have a spiritual master to guide us properly. Then we don't make mistakes unnecessarily or lose valuable life. Once you lose this life, you do not know. Assuming if you don't take up seriously, there's no guarantee you will come back as a human being. So that is why I was telling you, chant and take initiation and do seva. So then Krishna will protect you and take you back. Otherwise, You don't know what you will become. Yeah, you can become a cockroach. You are attached to the house so much, you think well it's a cockroach in the house or a rat. Yeah, it's like that. There's a story in the Purana that this man was running a mill, clothing mill. He was very wealthy. And he had 4 sons. The sons were not so good in their business acumen. So then he was worried, he was dying at that time. He was thinking, my sons are foolish. I should stick around and do more. Text 13. Deino asmin yatatehe Kaumaram yovanam jara Tathade hantara praptir As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you understand the philosophy, then you should be sober enough to know that the soul is not destroyed, the body is changed. So this is another basic understanding of the difference between the individual soul and his temporary body. Okay? So this is a very good example. The soul is passing from a little boy to a youth to an old man. But this is the same soul, same person. It's the external body that changes. Okay? Right? You remember when you were 20 years ago how youthful you looked. Now you look in the mirror, you regret. Or you think you need some ironing to do. But you're the same person. You may be more experienced in some fields, but you still are the same person. So this is another example Krishna gives to Arjuna to explain the difference between the body and the soul. The soul is passing from a little boy to a youth to an old man. But this is the same soul, same person. It's the external body that changes. Okay? Right? You remember when you were 20 years ago how youthful you looked. Now you look in the mirror, you regret. Or you think you need some ironing to do. But you're the same person. You may be more experienced in some fields, but you still are the same person. So this is another example Krishna gives to Arjuna to explain the difference between the body and the soul. Text 14. Matrasparsastu konteya Shitoshna Shukradukada Agama Nityas This is another beautiful verse. The son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception or Siam or Radha, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. I think all of you are very expert in this, tolerating Arizona weather. It's hot, and then in the winter months it's cold. Right? So basically Krishna is saying the problems that for the body will come. Right? You never prayed for problems, right? But somehow it's coming. Right? Somehow it will put its nose and come and disturb you. So it will come. Just like the problem comes, the problem will also go. Similarly, happiness will come and happiness also will go away. You have no control because these are determined by your past activities, previous karma. and so on. But as a living entity, you can always play the part to help someone in difficulty. Always. Out of proper compassion for them. As a devotee, you see someone suffering, you cannot just say, let him suffer, he'll learn a lesson. No, as a devotee, you try to help them and say, how can I help you in your suffering? I'll pray for you. Do you want prasadam? I'll bring to your home because you are going through so much difficulty. This is the difference between a lay person or a devotee. A devotee is always concerned for the welfare of the other individual. When you have too much suffering materially, how can you meditate on Krishna? Right? It's not possible.
You say that he's suffering, right? You say he's suffering.
Yeah.
And I pray for you.
Yeah.
Would that work? When you pray for him?
If you're sincere, yeah. If you really care about somebody, you can pray for them. Yeah. You pray to Krishna and say, please help this person to see things properly in the perspective like that. It works. But you must be sincere, not just, I will pray for you and then, okay, when you're out of sight, you're out of mind.
Yeah, you can pray, but Krishna don't act.
Yes.
So you can pray, but other pray, other than off.
Yeah, you can do that. You can also materially help them. Let's say they are in a terrible debt. And then you say, okay, I will help you this much, but you have to take the responsibility also. Right? So you can help in many ways. Maybe they can't get a job, you can hook them up with somebody, right? Like that. It may appear like material, but because you're a devotee, they will remember you. The devotee of Krishna helped me.
I don't expect that I don't expect that
Yeah, you don't expect anything. That's the thing. We don't want to expect anything, but we want to make them feel a little bit relief from their suffering. So when people get more and more relief from the suffering, they will remember, this devotee helped me. And then they'll say, how can I help you? And then you can say, just come to the temple. Yes. But then there's a system to help yourself, right? It's like this, if somebody is drowning, right? You are in the boat, you want to say you help yourself. Right? So you have to show some compassion, I'm saying. Their situation where you see this person needs help. By your association, the person will grow. Yeah, I'm not saying yeah, but again, you're not going to remain and watch person suffer. If let's say you don't want to do anything, at least you can go and say, I feel sorry for you, I'll pray for you, right? What harm is that? No harm, right? In fact, it's a good thing to do. Well, that's not material.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you to be spiritual. But if you want to give him a helping hand materially, there's no harm either. Because you can always come from the platform of spirituality, right? You can say, as a devotee of Krishna, I cannot see you suffering. So I'm going to help you. I'm going to write you a check for $10,000 here. Go and fix your problem. That's also nothing wrong with that. But I'm not saying for all circumstances, right? If he's a drug addict, you don't give him a check for $10,000. Yeah, but try to understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying. So I'm talking about, you have to be intelligent enough when you do some help also, not foolishly. You're like a beggar in the street. Yeah, we help, we give them $1 or $2. But you don't give the beggar $100. Right? Yeah, but that's ridiculous. So that's what I'm saying. You help. You show them that we are compassionate people. It's important for people to recognize that. If people see a devotee favorably, then Krishna becomes pleased with them. But if they see devotees unfavorably, then they are committing offense. So how can they progress in their consciousness? You understand? Therefore, it is incumbent on us to show people that we are devotees of Krishna and have a higher standard and have a greater compassion overall.
Isn't that satisfying our own vanity?
No, you're satisfying Krishna's. You're doing it for Krishna. You see, this is where you have to change. It's a fine line, but you have to think, I'm doing it for Krishna. I'm doing it for them to be favorable to Krishna. It takes time, you know. Just because of one class, I don't expect you to. Yam hinaya tayanti purusham purusha shikha samadhiram somrittadvaya kalpate. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. So there you go. It's a hard. See, for Arjuna, when Krishna tells him he can do it because he's such an advanced person. For us, it may take a long time, maybe the whole lifetime, to just be able to tolerate something. And you have met people, right? They cannot tolerate anything. Everything they get agitated. So you have to understand that so many of us, we have different abilities and different levels of tolerance. But Krishna wants us to come so that we will not be disturbed by happiness or distress. Because these are all temporary. That's his point. Sometimes things will be such that things will appear happy for you. And sometimes it's distress. But actually, what is happiness? The state of mind. I'll tell you another definition. Happiness is the interruption in your misery. Because at this moment, you are not telling me you are happy. Right? In general. So essentially we are always in a distressful situation. It's only a degree of distress. Yeah, no, it's only a degree of distress. How much distress or how little distress. So when that distressful situation is interrupted by someone comes and say, happy birthday, then you are like, oh, I'm happy. But the next day you are saying, oh, okay, no more happiness. You're back to your distressful constitutional position. If you think about it, we are always unhappy actually. That's why Krishna says, Dukhalayam ashashra. Anytime. Whole life is just that we are not aware of our misery as much as when it's really bad. like for example, material life is like sitting on a chair with the thumb nail sticking in the butt. You can feel it and it's uncomfortable, but you really like to be sitting, but still it's uncomfortable, and you're not really.
You're suffering.
Huh?
You're suffering sitting.
Yeah, you're suffering it, but you're thinking, oh, it's okay. It'll get better after a while. Yeah, and that's the other point. You get used to it.
Happiness is interruption in misery. This misery the other way. It's interruption in happiness.
No, generally you are suffering generally. The material world is made for suffering. That's why Krishna says tolerate. Understand? That's the degree of interruption is depending on your pious life. The more pious you are, the more interruptions there's to a situation. Yeah, you feel. That's very minimal compared to the real happiness in the spiritual world. Ananda. The Satchidananda position is way, way, way beyond what you are experiencing.
How does the happiness and sadness relate to a person's state? So will it cancel out?
It will come to the 5th chapter. Yeah, they don't feel happy or sad. They understand where they are. Everything is situated in connection to Krishna. Externally, they will smile.
But they are at peace.
They are peace in, yes, exactly. Yeah. They are not attached to anything, results or anything, you know. Like you can run to them and say, look, I did so well in my exams, and they are like, oh, that's so nice. But internally, they are actually meditating on, Krishna and things like that. So that's at a very high level.
There are people like that.
Oh yes. You will become like that also if you follow this, what we are teaching in this temple. With guarantee, you will feel that way as you get more and more proficient in your practice, you will come to that stage.